Truth spoken here with your host, the Maestro Eddie C. McLeod. That's me, y'all. Welcome once again to another episode of Truth Spoken here. Now this is my year-end show, and this is another year that we got behind us, coming to an end, 2023. And so last year I did this segment called Winners, Losers, and Whiners. And so we're going to do that again this year. And at the end of the show also, we're going to pay tribute to some of those who've passed on this year. Honor those who are no longer with us. So winners, losers, and whiners. The first category is winners. Now this year, first one I want to talk about is Simone Biles. Now Simone Biles had a stellar year this year in gymnastics competition. But this lady has had so much to overcome. As you know, having been involved in or been a victim of some kind of sexual misconduct, which was investigated, I think. But she's further, or I want to say living proof that we do not have to let whatever happens to us, whatever tragedies befall us in life, we do not have to let those moments define us. So this lady went on to become champion of champions this year. She became a quadruple world champion, having clinched individual, all around, floor, and balance beam gold at Antwerp, Belgium, and having 23 titles to her name at this point. So, with this young lady to retire now from gymnastics, her legacy is already cemented in the annals of time. So, Simone Biles, we applaud and salute you. You are the epitome of excellence. Next on the winners list, my Philadelphia Eagles and quarterback Jalen Hurts. Now, some of you have seen some of my social media posts. I was kind of pissed off at Jalen Hurts because we lost 3 games in a row and almost lost a 4th game this past Christmas night. But we pulled it off, and I was pissed off at Jalen because it's like I don't know, and like really and truly, in all fairness, like I was just I guess venting at the time, and in all fairness, Jalen is not to blame. You have to look at the offensive line for some of that stuff, and you have to look at perhaps the offensive coordinator or whatever. You got to look at the coaching. So I was hard on Jalen, and I don't know, Jalen will probably never hear this, but I do apologize for that. And because I went as far as to say he should be fired. No, that's ridiculous. I was just ranting, and sometime to tell you a little bit about me. I'm a little bit too impulsive for my own good sometimes. I overthink things, and sometimes I overstate things. So this is such a case. But anyway, for the dignity with which my Eagles handled the controversial loss last year, or I guess that was earlier this year, I should say, at the Super Bowl. Controversial loss. And to go on and still have a winning season, and like be in contention again to put themselves in a position again to perhaps be in the Super Bowl once again. I have to give it to my team. Y'all are winners. So no matter how the season ends, and Jalen, I won't say anything else about you this year. Just put it away. Now, next person on my list. Now, the next two people that I'm going to talk about, like these are, now as I've stated, I want to be clear about one thing. I'm not a Republican, nor am I a Democrat. I'm an independent. So whoever gets my vote has to work for it. Now, I want to talk about first our former governor here in South Carolina, Nikki Haley. Now, this lady, like her or not, Nikki Haley is she's just one of the most savvy politicians I've seen in the last 25 years. This lady is all about positioning herself for whatever may come next. So, from like I remember when the Dylan Roof thing happened here at the Emmanuel Church killing here in South Carolina. Nikki had the the Confederate flag removed from State House grounds, and that was probably a bad move politically for her. So I think she knew that at that point there that it was almost like political suicide or whatever you want to call it. But she wasn't thinking about it. Nikki was thinking about bigger things. So she went on to get a position in President Trump's administration. And I'm not sure she ran last time. I think she ran last time. I'm not sure. Did she run in 2020? I think she ran in that primary or whatever. I'm not sure. But she's definitely running this time. But she's, like I say, she's one of the smartest, most savvy politicians I've seen the last 25 years. And you got to give it to her. Some people call her Tricky Nikki. You got to give it to her, whether you like her or not. And I really, truly, I'm looking at her like I'm looking at her. She could be. I believe she could be a pretty good president. Now, this next person that's on my list for the winners. Some of y'all are gonna look at me kind of sideways, but Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump. I mean, you look at right now, given the current administration's failures with the economy and other aspects of the administration's policies, Donald Trump's not looking so bad now. And you got to give it to this guy. Like I said, this guy, like, he's probably going to be hands down, probably going to be, you look at the polls, he's leading the Republican field of nominees right now and stuff, and he's probably going to be the eventual nominee. Now, would I vote for him? Probably not. But you got to give it to the guy. This guy just keeps bouncing back, and right now, the way that the current administration is looking, I'm like wondering, could he be any worse for our country? So I have to put Donald Trump, as much as I hate to, I have to put him this year in the category of a winner. Now, the stuff that's going on now with the various states that want to take him off the ballot. My opinion on that is, I think, if anything, the man hasn't been convicted of any crime. They're saying because he incited an insurrection. Well, if that was going to be addressed, it should have been addressed before now. And he hasn't been charged with anything, any kind of sedition or inciting any kind of overthrow of the government, anything like that. So I think that what they're doing now, there's no way to do this, without it looking partisan now. So it's almost a given that Donald Trump will be the 2024 Republican presidential nominee. Now, let's move on to the category of losers. First on the list of losers, Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida. Now, it's bad enough that this guy wants to erase history. Wants to, if this guy had his way, we go back to the old narrative that people of color, particularly black people, have been here 400 years and haven't done a damn thing but pick cotton. And this guy, this guy, in my opinion, were he to become president, this guy here, I believe, would be a disaster for the country. More of a disaster than Trump potentially could have been. And, arguably was. Now, the stuff that he wants to do with history, like not allowing critical race theory to be taught, that was bad enough. But then this guy went on to attack Disney, Disney, just from an economic standpoint, is probably responsible for a lot of the state of Florida's tourism revenue. So what were you thinking, dude? But this guy has been made himself look so bad in the debates. I don't think we'll have to worry about him becoming the nominee for the Republicans. I pray not anyway. Next on the losers list, Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden has to be the biggest embarrassment to a president and the United States president since Jimmy Carter's brother Billy back in the 70s. Now, what were you thinking, dude? Like I said, we know you haven't been convicted of anything yet, but things are looking bad. And they got this old saying that if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it must be a duck. Well, let's just say, like I said, you're looking pretty bad right now, Hunter. And what embarrassment you are to your family and to this country. Okay, now my next guy to make the loser list. I should say him and his wife. I'm just gonna say him, and it doesn't. Well, we'll say the couple. Dr. Joe Gao, who was Chancellor of University of Wisconsin La Crosse. This guy, him and his wife, have been posting pornographic videos and have written, I don't know if it's 1 or 2 books about how porn has enriched their lives, enriched their relationships or whatever. Now, here this guy is a university chancellor. I'm not sure if that's the same thing as a president of university or what, but so dude, you couldn't find anything better to do with your time. And this guy is this is like unbelievable. This is like an unbelievable story. I'm serious, you can't make this stuff up. So I'm like, when I saw this on the news last night, I was like, wow. Another example of people having more money and more prestige, whatever you want to call it, than sense. So, like I said, I'm just leave that alone. I think that, like I said, I think that speaks. I think if you read the story, if you saw the story on the news, it speaks for itself. Totally like ridiculous. Now, like I said, this list here is not anywhere near as extensive as it was last year. Let's get to the Whiners category. In the Whiners category, I only have one entry. That is our United States Congress. When I say Congress, I'm talking about the Senate and also the House of Representatives. You've had this back and forth party bickering. Nobody wants to get anything done. And you've done a terrible job this year. Everybody's been whining about this and that. Like the whole debacle that was made of the speakership with when they were trying to choose a speaker of the House. And then, like after, I don't know, it was 15 votes or something like that, they finally chose Kevin McCarthy, and then he ended up resigning, and it's just that's one example. And then and I want to be fair here. I'm not just talking about just the Republicans either. Democrats have done a terrible job. Then you got people like Joe Manchin who can't decide what he wants to be. So I think Joe Manchin done the best thing as far as just getting the hell out of politics. You can't decide what side you want to be on or whatever. Really and truly, a lot of people got mad at Joe because he voted with the Republicans a lot of times. But really and truly, I kind of applaud him for that, because I probably think part of the problem is with politics is like people aren't willing to look beyond party and look and search their hearts, look at your conscience, and vote your conscience. Don't vote party. That's my thing, and I advise the American people to do the same thing when you go to the polls in 2024. So but Congress, y'all done a terrible job this year, and a disservice to the American people. With all the whining, let's quit whining and let's get things done. All this whining, this bickering back and forth, it's not getting anything solved, and it's too crucial time in the history of this nation and this world for y'all to be being so petty. And I'll tell you what would fix a lot of this. I've been saying this for years. Term limits. I don't think there should be any such thing as a career politician. Do 2 terms and get the hell out. If you want to do 2 terms in the House and 2 terms as a senator, that's good. But there should be no such thing as a career politician. Like here in South Carolina, we had Strom Thurmond, who'd been in Senate something like, I don't know how many years, something like probably close to, I know, over 50 years, maybe longer than that. And I remember, I think one of his last runs might have been the very last run time he's running for re-election. Everybody's like, well, they're afraid if his health was so frail, they were like afraid that if he doesn't get elected, he won't have access to the health care that he needs and all this. The hell with that. That was a poor excuse to keep somebody in office. And then, if I'm not mistaken, they had another guy, Byrd from it was West Virginia. I'm not sure where it was from. I think Robert Byrd was his name. He went on to serve even longer than Strom Thurmond. This, like I said, that stuff should never happen. And now, of course, now in talking about that, I have to talk about also, we talk about term limits. Should there be age limits on politicians? How many? I don't know, because you got some people like it depends on the mental acuity, and I know with time your mental acuity does diminish somewhat, but that's not necessarily true, because that you got but so I'm not gonna. I guess right now where I'm at, I wouldn't say that you need age limits right now, but I'm looking at some of the stuff that's going on with President Biden. And clearly this guy is having some stuff, some age-related mental lapses, I think. Perhaps, and I'm not a doctor, so, maybe something else going on, something worse than that going on, I don't know. But I would think his age to be a factor, but like I said, I'm not a doctor, so. But anyway, that's my list this year of winners, losers, and whiners. Now, every year I do this little poem. I've been doing this thing now probably about, I'm thinking about 6 or 7 years. But of course I only started the podcast last year. But I have this little thing that I do. It's basically a poem that I wrote every year to honor those who have passed, like particularly, famous people, celebrities. But also I try not to fail to mention the everyday ordinary people who passed also, of course can't call them by name, but want to recognize that their lives are no less valuable. So with that in mind, this is my farewell to 2023. Once again, the time has come to close the book on another year. As 2023 comes to an end and 2024 is almost here. But first, let us acknowledge, before we turn the page, those who this year have exited the stage. Jeff Beck was the guitar hero of many aspiring youths. He set the bar high for rock guitar with his seminal album Truth. Silly antics that made us laugh when paired with his brother. Most recently, we learned of the passing of Tommy Smothers, a composer par excellence whose songs were the soundtrack of our youth. Burt Bacharach's musical sophistication went well beyond 3 chords and the truth. A civil rights activist, singer, and actor, Harry Belafonte throughout his life continued to be a factor. Whether on stage, on screen, or fighting for our rights, Mr. Belafonte was always one to fight the good fight. A man who helped broker the Paris Peace Accord and served under Presidents Nixon and Ford. Henry Kissinger helped shape foreign policy as Secretary of State. He lived to be 100. What a blessed fate. Speaking of centenarians who left us this year, one would be remiss not to mention Norman Lear. From All in the Family to Good Times and Maud, his shows made TV audiences laugh and applaud. Always entertaining, often thought-provoking, a true visionary, and on that point, there's no joking. And certainly it must be acknowledged, no matter how you try to spin it. Any conversation about great jazz vocalists must bear mention of the late Tony Bennett. Rosalind Carter was a first lady blessed with elegance and class, simply plain-spoken and down to earth, clinging to her faith until the very last. Tina Turner had a stellar career that was second to none. All we can say now that it's over and done is thank you for the music with which we were blessed. In your own words, you were simply the best. Andre Braugher was an actor who tried to constantly reinvent himself, from serious roles on Law & Order to comedies like Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He worked to ensure that he would never be put on the shelf. Shaft was a bad brother, Shut Your Mouth, played by Richard Roundtree. He too from this realm departed in 2023. In 1977, we had our ears filled with a song by Jimmy Buffett called Margaritaville. If there's a bar in the afterlife, I'm sure he must be there. Just as sure as I am that it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Friends co-star Matthew Perry, some would say, was gone much too soon. A charming, handsome guy who made the lady swoon. Best remembered as the sarcastic Chandler Bing, he never hesitated to boldly steal a scene. In the 60s, as a member of Miles Davis' second great quintet, Wayne Shorter was a musician that time will not forget. He could play it rough or he could play it pure. His legacy, rest assured, is safe and secure. Serving her country and serving it well, Senator Dianne Feinstein, to now we must hail. A tireless public servant she proved to be, serving her constituents faithfully. For decades he had us glued to our TV sets, as his instantly recognizable voice did resound, as he shouted out a contestant's name, followed by those magical words, "Come on down." Bob Barker, an icon on our television screens, checked out this year and split the scene. A running back who had no equal, Jim Brown opened doors for so many people. Later becoming an activist for many a worthy cause, a humble man who tell you to hold your applause. For it was not for accolades from me or from you, but simply because it was the right thing to do. Suzanne Summers kept us laughing for years. Her passing brought many of us to tears. Her courage was the stuff of which legends are made. We'll remember her smile, which never seemed to fade. For years she battled cancer and seemed to be winning, but now has transitioned to a brand new beginning. Then there are those who fulfilled the roles of sisters, brothers, mothers, fathers, husbands, and wives. Though not world renowned, still these people in so many ways enriched our lives. To them and all the aforementioned, we pause to give respect and honor as you make your ascension. You lived your lives and lived them well. To you now we say a hearty hail and farewell. Thank you, and it's my prayer in the new year as we go forward into the new year, that the new year bring you peace, joy, and all the desires of your hearts. Thank you, and may God bless and keep you until next time.